that had to be developed in order to develop the water fuel cell as a retrofit energy systems to conventional cars.
Prepare to have your mind blown as we dive into the shadowy world of suppressed inventions and their brilliant but silenced creators.
If my electric current kills, then I deserve to be its victim myself.
From energy sources that could power cities for pennies to medical marvels that could revolutionize healthcare overnight, we're pulling back the curtain on technologies so groundbreaking they've been forcibly kept under wraps.
All this video is to prove is that cars can run on gas fumes only and not raw gas.
Brace yourself for a journey through history's most tantalizing what-ifs as we explore the inventions that powerful interests don't want you to know about. Number 15. The Ogle Carburetor. The year was 1977, and while most Americans were grooving to disco and lining up for Star Wars, a young mechanic from El Paso was about to shake the automotive world to its core. Enter Tom Ogle, a high school dropout with a knack for engines and a revolutionary idea that would make the oil industry quake in their boots. Ogle's creation, a carburetor that promised to deliver an almost unbelievable 100 miles per gallon in standard gasoline engines. This wasn't just a minor tweak, it was a complete reimagining of how engines could work. The Ogle carburetor bypassed the traditional fuel delivery system, instead vaporizing gasoline for a more complete and efficient burn. Now you might be thinking, if this was so great, why aren't we all driving super efficient cars today? Well, that's where our story takes a darker turn. Despite successful public demonstrations, including a well-documented 200-mile trip on a mere 2 gallons of gas, Ogle's invention faced an uphill battle. Skeptics emerged from the woodwork questioning the validity of his claims. The scientific community demanded rigorous independent testing, which for various reasons never fully materialized. Meanwhile, Ogle found himself ensnared in a web of legal and financial challenges that would make your head spin. But here's where things get really intriguing. In 1981, just as Ogle seemed poised to overcome these hurdles, tragedy struck. The inventor's untimely death at the young age of 24 sent shockwaves through the automotive world and fueled a firestorm of conspiracy theories that persist to this day. Was Ogle's carburetor truly the game-changer it appeared to be? Or was it simply too good to be true? While mainstream science tends to dismiss the more sensational claims surrounding the device, the Ogle carburetor has become a symbol of suppressed innovation and a rallying cry for those who believe we could be driving cleaner, more efficient vehicles. Number 14. The Rife Machine. In the Roaring '20s, while flappers were dancing the Charleston and bootleggers were running moonshine, a maverick scientist named Royal Raymond Rife was cooking up something far more revolutionary in his San Diego laboratory. His creation? A device that promised to zap diseases into oblivion using nothing more than carefully tuned electromagnetic waves. Rife's machine was like something out of a sci-fi novel, way ahead of its time. The idea was simple, yet mind-blowing. Every organism has its own unique electromagnetic frequency. Find that frequency, crank it up to 11, and boom, you've got yourself a seriously advanced bug zapper for human ailments. Now, Rife wasn't just tinkering in his garage. By the 1930s, he was claiming some pretty spectacular results, especially with the big C, cancer. Word spread, and for a hot minute, it looked like Rife might be on the verge of turning modern medicine on its head. But here's where our tale takes a turn. The medical establishment wasn't exactly rolling out the red carpet for Rife's radical ideas. They wanted proof, cold, hard, scientific evidence that this thing actually worked. And let's face it, in the world of medicine, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Rife found himself in a perfect storm of skepticism, legal battles, and pushback from the powers that be. Before long, his miracle machine had faded into obscurity, relegated to the dustbin of medical history. But hold on to your hats, because this story isn't over. Fast forward to today, and the Rife machine is making a comeback in the world of alternative medicine. Its supporters swear by its healing powers, while critics dismiss it as pseudoscience. So what's the truth? Is the Rife machine a suppressed miracle cure kept under wraps by Big Pharma? Or is it just another case of wishful thinking trumping hard science? The jury's still out and the debate rages on. Number 13. The water fuel cell. As the 20th century was winding down, a small-town Ohio inventor named Stanley Meyer was revving up a storm in the automotive world, a revolutionary device that could turn your car's fuel tank into a miniature power plant running on nothing but good old H2O. Meyer's water fuel cell was the talk of the town, promising to flip the script on our fossil fuel addiction. The concept was deceptively simple: split water into its component parts, hydrogen and oxygen, and use that as fuel. But here's the kicker. Meyer claimed his gizmo could do this with less juice than it takes to run your toaster. If true, it would have made fossil fuel obsolete faster than you can say fill her up. News of this aqua-powered wonder spread like wildfire. Meyer found himself in the spotlight demonstrating his water-guzzling buggy to slack-jawed onlookers and snagging patents left and right. For a hot minute, it seemed like Stanley Meyer might just be the next Henry Ford. The scientific community started poking holes in Meyer's claims faster than you can say thermodynamics. You see, splitting water typically requires more energy than you get back. It's like trying to lift yourself off the ground with your own bootstraps. Meyer insisted he'd crack this cosmic code, but the eggheads weren't buying it. Things came to a head in 1996 when a court found Meyer guilty of fraud. But the saga wasn't over yet. In a twist straight out of a Hollywood thriller, Meyer died suddenly in 1998, choking on a restaurant meal. Cue the conspiracy theories and hushed whispers of cover-ups. In the era of cutting-edge technology, the water fuel cell serves as a sobering reminder that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. This narrative piques our interest in hypothetical situations and ignites discussions regarding repressed technology. Number 12. Anti-gravity device. We're about to blast off into a realm where science fact and science fiction collide, the wild world of anti-gravity devices. Let's rewind to the mid-20th century, where our anti-gravity saga kicks off with a cast of characters straight out of a comic book. First up is Thomas Townsend Brown, a guy who thought he could make objects float using nothing but electricity. Then there's Eugene Podkletnov, who claimed he could shield objects from gravity using spinning superconductors. Sounds cool, right? Well, hold on to your lab coats, because here's where things get sticky. You see, in the world of science, it's not enough to say, look, Ma, no gravity. You've got to prove it again and again with other eggheads watching. And that's where our anti-gravity pioneers hit a snag. Their experiments were about as reproducible as a winning lottery ticket. The scientific community wasn't buying it, and these potential breakthroughs ended up collecting more dust than Nobel Prizes. But don't think for a second that the dream of telling gravity to take a flying leap has died. Today's physicists are still at it, exploring everything from superconductors to magnetic levitation. They're even pondering the existence of exotic matter that could give the middle finger to gravity as we know it. Now I know what you're thinking. If this anti-gravity stuff is so great, why aren't we all zooming around in flying cars? Well, here's the rub. Gravity is one tough customer. It's been the boss of the universe since day one, and it's not about to clock out just because we say so. The theories and math behind anti-gravity are more tangled than your old cassette tapes. And what are the practical challenges? Let's just say they make rocket science look like a game of tic-tac-toe. But here's the kicker. The very idea of sticking it to gravity keeps pushing us forward. It's the stuff of dreams, the kind of breakthrough that could rewrite the rules of everything from transportation to space exploration. And who knows, maybe someday some bright spark in a lab coat will have their eureka moment and we'll all be floating on air. Number 11. The Wardenclyffe Tower. The Wardenclyffe Tower, a skyscraping dream that promised to light up the world. This isn't just any old ghost story from the dusty pages of history. This is the story of Nikola Tesla, the self-proclaimed wizard of electricity, and his bold scheme to create a wireless charging station the size of the entire planet. Picture this. It's the dawn of the 20th century. While most folks are still marveling at the miracle of the light bulb, Tesla's got his sights set on something far grander. He envisions a colossal tower on Long Island, standing proud against the New York skyline, ready to zap electricity through the air and beam messages across the globe. All visionaries need funding, and Tesla found his in the shape of the mustachioed J.P. Morgan, the big-time banker with more money than the Mariana Trench. With the project funded by Morgan's dollars, Tesla got to work, seeing his vision materialize in steel and concrete. But here's where our tale takes a turn for the tragic. As the tower climbed skyward, so did the cost. Morgan, it turns out, wasn't keen on bankrolling a never-ending money pit. By 1905, he'd pulled the plug faster than you can say budget overrun, leaving Tesla's grand vision high and dry. The Wardenclyffe Tower stood for another decade, a lonely sentinel to what might have been. In 1917, as America geared up for the Great War, the tower met an inglorious end, demolished for scrap. Tesla's dream of wireless power for all came crashing down with it. Tesla's wild ideas about slinging electricity through the ether weren't so crazy after all. Fast forward to today, and we're all walking around with pocket-sized devices that would make old Nicola's mustache curl with pride. So, what's the moral of our electrifying tale? Sometimes the craziest ideas are just ahead of their time. Tesla's tower may have fallen, but his vision of a wirelessly connected world? That's still standing tall, my friends. It just goes to show, in the land of American innovation, today's impossible might just be tomorrow's we can't live without it. Number 10. The Orgone Generator. The Orgone Generator, a device so out there it makes crystal healing look downright mainstream. Wilhelm Reich, a scientist with unconventional ideas who could rival Einstein in the wild hair department, is the protagonist of our story, which opens in the swinging 1940s and 1950s. Reich wasn't content with boring old physics. No, he was on a mission to tap into what he called orgone energy, a mysterious life force he believed was floating all around us, just waiting to be harnessed. Now, Reich wasn't talking about some New Age mumbo-jumbo. He thought this orgone stuff was the real deal, a universal energy that could influence everything from your health to the weather. And he didn't just theorize about it. Reich rolled up his sleeves and started building gadgets to prove it. Enter the Orgone Accumulator. Imagine a phone booth crossed with a tanning bed designed to concentrate this cosmic energy for healing purposes. But Reich didn't stop there. He went big with the Cloudbuster, a device he claimed could manipulate the weather by fiddling with orgone in the atmosphere. As you might guess, the scientific community wasn't exactly throwing Reich a ticker tape parade. They looked at his orgone devices the way a cat looks at a dog wearing a tutu, with a mixture of confusion and disbelief. But it wasn't just raised eyebrows that Reich had to contend with. The FDA came knocking, and they weren't there to borrow a cup of organ. Before you could say pseudoscience, Reich found himself in hot water. His books were burned, his devices destroyed, and Reich himself ended up behind bars. It was a dramatic fall from grace. But Reich's ideas didn't die with him. Today, there's still a devoted following of orgone enthusiasts out there. They're tinkering with modern versions like orgonite, swearing by its effects on everything from personal well-being to environmental healing. So what's the deal? Was Reich a misunderstood genius, a well-meaning quack, or something in between? His legacy serves as a sharp reminder of the fine line that separates cutting-edge science from alternative beliefs, even though the jury is still out. Number 9. The Avrocar. We're about to take a wild ride through one of the coolest, craziest chapters in Cold War aerospace history, presenting the Avrocar, the flying saucer that was not quite ready for takeoff, to the esteemed audience. Think of this. It's the 1950s. Elvis is shaking his hips, the space race is heating up, and our neighbors to the north at Avro, Canada are cooking up something straight out of a sci-fi B-movie. Their mission? To create an aircraft that could take off like a helicopter, zip around like a jet, and look like something that would make little green men jealous. The Avrocar was the aviation equivalent of a Swiss Army knife, a disc-shaped wonder that promised to revolutionize warfare and transportation. Vertical takeoff, lightning-fast speeds, the ability to hover and dart around like a hummingbird on steroids. That was the plan. Now, Uncle Sam was all ears. The U.S. military poured money into the project faster than you can say Area 51. But here's where our tale of high-flying ambition hits some turbulence. You see, getting a giant metal frisbee to behave in the air is trickier than teaching a cat to swim. The Avrocar had more shakes than a 50s malt shop during test flights. It wobbled, it drifted, and it stubbornly refused to get more than a few feet off the ground without throwing a mechanical tantrum. By 1961, even the most starry-eyed optimists had to face facts. The Avrocar was grounded for good. Its dreams of revolutionizing aviation were shot down by the pesky laws of aerodynamics. But don't write this off as just another failed experiment. The Avrocar may not have taken to the skies as planned, but it sure as heck left its mark on aviation history. All that research and head-scratching paved the way for real advances in vertical takeoff and landing technology. So next time you see a Harrier jet or an Osprey doing its hover dance, give a little nod to its disco-shaped grandpappy. Today, the Avrocar stands as a shining example of that uniquely American spirit of dream big and ask questions later. It's a reminder that sometimes the craziest ideas are the ones that push technology forward, even if they end up more frisbee than flying saucer. Number 8. Aero Wagon. We're about to take a wild ride through the twisted rails of Soviet engineering history. Meet the Aero Wagon, the love child of a locomotive and a fighter jet that's sure to make your head spin faster than its ill-fated wheels. Visualize this. The country of hammers and sickles is in the 1930s. Soviet engineers are creating incredible things in their labs while Americans struggle with the effects of the Great Depression. Their goal? To create a rail car so fast would make capitalist trains look like they're stuck in molasses. Enter the Aero Wagon, a contraption so bonkers it makes the Batmobile look like a kid's tricycle. This wasn't your grandpa's choo-choo train. The Soviets slapped an aircraft engine onto a rail car, gave it an aerodynamic makeover, and voila! A speed demon was born, ready to zip Soviet big shots across the motherland faster than you can say borscht. In 1934, this mechanical Frankenstein's monster decided to take its maiden voyage. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well. Faster than you can say do svidaniya, the Aero Wagon decided it had had enough of the whole staying on the tracks business. It jumped the rails quicker than a Soviet gymnast, turning what was supposed to be a triumphant test run into a tragic cautionary tale. The crash wasn't just a fender bender, folks. It was curtains for the Aero Wagon project, and sadly for some of the folks on board. Stalin and his cronies took one look at the wreckage and said, "Niet." So, what's the moral of this high-speed horror story? Well, for starters, it's a stark reminder that sometimes the need for speed can lead you right off the rails. Literally. It's also a testament to the age-old wisdom of look before you leap, or in this case, test before you zoom. The Aero Wagon is now only a footnote in the history of engineering, a warning of what happens when ambition gets in the way of common sense. It serves as a reminder that in the realm of innovation, smarter thinking is just as important as speed. Number 7. The Hoxie Tonic. Hoxie Tonic, a brew so contentious it makes the debate over pineapple on pizza look like child's play. Our story kicks off in the early 1900s with Harry Hoxie, a man who claimed he could knock cancer's socks off with nothing more than a cocktail of herbs. Now, Hoxie wasn't your typical white coat wearing doc. Nope, this guy was more of a maverick, mixing up his secret sauce based on a family recipe that allegedly cured his great-grandfather's horse of cancer. Yes, you heard that right, a horse. Before you could say snake oil, Hoxie's tonic was the talk of the town. Cancer patients flocked to his clinics faster than you can say alternative medicine. Testimonials poured in, with folks swearing up and down that this herbal concoction had saved their bacon when conventional medicine had thrown in the towel. The medical establishment wasn't about to let some herbal cowboy ride into town and steal their thunder. They came at Hoxie guns blazing, demanding scientific proof and accusing him of peddling false hope. It was like the OK Corral, but with stethoscopes instead of six-shooters. The legal battles that followed were fierce. Hoxie found himself in and out of courtrooms more often than a daytime TV judge, fighting charges of practicing medicine without a license. It was David versus Goliath. with Hoxsey casting himself as the little guy standing up to Big Pharma. Fast forward to today and you'd think this was all ancient history, right? The Hoxsey tonic is still kicking around in the world of alternative medicine like that one relative who just won't leave the family reunion. It's got its diehard fans who swear by its efficacy, while mainstream medicine continues to give it the side eye. So what is going on? Is the Hoxsey tonic merely another piece of medical quackery in the vast book of suppressed miracle cures, or something entirely different? Although the case is still pending, it is clear that alternative therapies and evidence-based medicine are engaged in a constant struggle. Number 6. Cold fusion. We are about to embark on a scientific soap opera that shakes the world of physics and leaves the energy industry in disarray. It is cold fusion, the Bigfoot of the energy world. Picture this. It's 1989. The Berlin Wall is crumbling, acid-wash jeans are all the rage, and two chemists named Martin Fleischmann and Stanley Pons are about to drop a bombshell that would make Einstein do a double-take. These guys claim they've cracked the code on nuclear fusion, not in some mega-billion-dollar reactor, but right there on their lab bench at room temperature. Now, if you're wondering why this is a big deal, let me break it down for you. Nuclear fusion is the holy grail of energy production. It's what powers the sun, for crying out loud. If we could harness it here on Earth, we'd be swimming in clean, cheap energy faster than you can say goodbye, fossil fuels. So, when Fleischmann and Pons announced they'd achieved this miracle with nothing more than some palladium heavy water and a bit of electric current, the scientific world lost its collective mind. It was like telling folks you'd invented a car that runs on tap water and pixie dust. For a hot minute, cold fusion was the talk of the town. Scientists around the globe were tripping over themselves to replicate the experiment. Energy companies were seeing dollar signs. It was the scientific equivalent of Beatlemania. Before long, cold fusion went from the next big thing to a scientific laughingstock. Fleischmann and Pons found themselves on the wrong end of the physics community's stink eye, their reputations taking a nosedive steeper than a roller coaster. Even today, there's a diehard group of scientists still chasing the cold fusion dream. They're like the energy world's equivalent of flat earthers, except with more PhDs and fewer YouTube conspiracy videos. Every now and then, someone pops up claiming they've got cold fusion working in their garage. The mainstream scientific community usually responds with a collective eye roll so hard you can hear it from space. So what's the moral of our chilly tale of fusion? Well, it's a reminder that in science, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It's also a testament to the enduring power of the underdog idea. Cold fusion might be down, but it's not out, at least not in the minds of its most fervent believers. Number 5. Cavity structure effect. Prepare to have your minds blown by the scientific equivalent of a magic trick, the cavity structure effect. We're talking about electromagnetic waves doing the cha-cha in tight spaces and potentially revolutionizing everything from your phone signal to your doctor's X-ray machine. Imagine electromagnetic waves, the invisible forces that drive our contemporary world, acting out of control like adolescent rebels when imprisoned. That's the cavity structure effect in a nutshell. When pressed into the correct spaces, scientists say these waves can perform some pretty amazing tricks that could potentially supercharge our technology to the point where it will make your head spin. We're talking cell phones that work in the middle of nowhere, buildings that keep themselves cozy without burning through energy like there's no tomorrow, and medical scans so clear you could spot a flea on a dog's back. The scientific community is more divided on CSE than a group of siblings fighting over the last slice of pizza. Some researchers are shouting from the rooftops about its potential, while others are rolling their eyes so hard they might strain something. The problem? Cold, hard proof. Or rather, the lack of it. CSE is stuck in a weird limbo where different scientific fields can't agree on what counts as solid evidence. It's like trying to referee a game where half the players are using football rules and the other half thinks they're playing basketball. So what's next for our enigmatic CSE? The future's looking like a massive scientific team-up, with experts from all fields putting their heads together to crack this nut. We're talking big brains, bigger computers, and the kind of collaborative spirit that would make the Avengers jealous. Number 4. The hemp car. Hemp car, the groovy green machine that's been turning heads and raising eyebrows since before your grandpappy got his first set of wheels. Now you might be thinking, hemp, isn't that the stuff hippies use to make scratchy necklaces? But hemp is much more than just a cool accessory for Woodstock attendees. Hold on to your tie-dye shirts. This amazing plant is the key component of a car that is lighter than your ex's pledges, greener than a recently mowed lawn, and stronger than nails. Our hemp-powered tail kicks off way back in the 1940s with none other than Henry Ford himself. Yep, the same guy who made the Model T decided to take a detour into Marijuanaville and cook up a car that was part plant, part machine. Ford's hemp hot rod was ahead of its time, using hemp fiber for the body and hemp fuel for the engine. Fast forward to the 21st century and the hemp car is making a comeback faster than bell-bottoms in a retro fashion show. In 2010, our neighbors to the north in Canada unveiled the Kestrel, a car so hemptastic it makes Cheech and Chong's van look like a gas-guzzling monster truck. But why hemp? Because this plant's got more tricks up its sleeve than a magician at a kid's birthday party. Hemp cars are strong enough to withstand a collision, but light enough to get better gas mileage than your standard steel behemoth. Plus, they're about as eco-friendly as a bicycle made of recycled granola bars. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing in Hemptown. There are more regulatory hurdles to jump than a track and field Olympics, and the price tag can make your wallet weep. But hey, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was the perfect eco car. Number 3. The radiant energy device. Picture this. It's the early 1900s, and while most folks are still marveling at the miracle of the light bulb, Nikola Tesla, the rock star of electricity, is cooking up something that would make Thomas Edison's hair stand on end. Tesla had this crazy idea that we're swimming in an ocean of free energy, just waiting to be scooped up like electromagnetic fish. Fast forward a few decades and along comes Thomas Henry Murray, strutting onto the scene with a contraption he swears can pull electricity out of thin air. Now, if that sounds too good to be true, you're not alone. The scientific community raised their collective eyebrows so high they nearly flew off their faces. But this isn't just some dusty old tale from the history books. In today's world of climate change and energy crunches, the radiant energy device is making a comeback faster than vinyl records at a hipster party. Modern-day wizards in lab coats are giving Tesla's dream a 21st century makeover, mashing it up with cutting-edge solar technology and wireless energy transfer. Now, don't get me wrong, we're not quite at the free energy for everyone stage yet. There are more hurdles to jump than an Olympic hurdler on espresso. But the potential? It's enough to make your utility company break out in a cold sweat. Number 2. Perpetual motion. Few ideas in the history of science have captivated the public's attention as much as perpetual motion. The machine is a machine that defies the laws of nature itself, able to run continuously on fuel. It is the dream of infinite energy. For centuries, inventors and dreamers have chased this elusive goal, their minds ablaze with the visions of a world freed from energy constraints. But here's the rub. Perpetual motion remains firmly in the realm of fantasy. Why? The laws of thermodynamics, those immutable rules governing energy, stand as an unyielding barrier. The first law declares that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, while the second law insists that some energy always escapes as heat in any exchange. It's a 1-2 punch that knocks out the possibility of a true perpetual motion machine. Undeterred, generations of tinkerers have proposed two main types of these impossible devices. The first aims to produce more energy than it consumes, while the second attempts to recover all its energy to keep running indefinitely. Both concepts, though alluring, are doomed to failure in our physical universe. But the search for unceasing motion was not totally pointless. It encouraged researchers to look into non-conventional power sources and spurred advancements in energy efficiency. Today's researchers, building on this legacy, focus on ultra-efficient systems and methods to harvest ambient energy from our environment. The allure of perpetual motion persists in our culture, featuring science fiction and popular media. It symbolizes humanity's relentless drive to push boundaries and challenge the impossible. While we may never achieve true perpetual motion, the quest itself has propelled us forward, leading to breakthroughs in energy technology and deepening our understanding of the universe's fundamental laws. Number 1. The Wasp X-Jet. In the realm of aviation marvels, the Wasp X-Jet stands out as a tantalizing glimpse of what personal flight could have been. Developed by Williams International in the 1980s, this flying chair pushed the boundaries of vertical takeoff and landing technology, promising a future where zipping through the skies could be as simple as taking a seat. At its heart, the X-Jet boasted a compact turbojet engine, granting its pilot the power to ascend vertically, hover with precision, and navigate tight spaces with ease. This pint-sized powerhouse could reach speeds of up to 60 miles per hour, a feat that had military and emergency response teams salivating at the possibilities. But like many cutting-edge innovations, the X-Jet faced its share of turbulence. The little flying machine had a voracious appetite for fuel, severely limiting its operational range. Piloting this aerial hot seat also proved to be no walk in the park, requiring a steep learning curve that dampened its widespread adoption dreams. Regulatory hurdles and operational challenges further clipped the X-Jet's wings. Despite its impressive capabilities, the complexities of integrating such a novel aircraft into existing air traffic systems and safety protocols proved daunting. Yet, the Wasp X-Jet wasn't a complete wash. Its groundbreaking design and the engineering lessons learned have left an indelible mark on the landscape of personal aviation. The spirit of the X-Jet lives on, inspiring a new generation of innovators and pushing the envelope of individual flight. While the X-Jet may not have soared into mass production, its legacy as a bold experiment in personal VTOL technology continues to influence modern developments. From today's cutting-edge drone designs to ambitious flying car projects, the DNA of the Wasp X-Jet can be traced in the ongoing quest to unlock the skies for individual transportation. We are coming to an end here today. Thanks for watching, and for such top-listing videos, subscribe to our channel.